of the law. They have not done that. And that is where this game of chicken that I'm talking about begins. We have to find a way of doing things normally.
We're left in between this scenario where the executive says that, okay, the Senate doesn't have the power to confirm some of these people that we initially sent to them, and then the Senate says, since the executive doesn't believe that we have the powers to confirm them, so we will not confirm them.
Well,
that leaves us just in limbo.
And it's a dangerous limbo. And that is why I'm saying, between the legislature and the executive, we have political things going on. Of course, the judiciary is aside from that, as independent as well. What we need to do is for both sides to sit down and work this out, because it's not going to help us. Okay, I think the acting president, he's a lawyer, and lawyers we say things based on our professional experience. I think that's what he did. You can't fault him for that as well. But I think it is right for him to retract that and say, hey, wait a minute.
With the acting president?
Yes, we have a conflict there, here, which needs to be resolved. In the interim, let us do things according to what the current law says, and then move on from there. Work with the Senate or the House to change the law, if that is the position of the executive. But if you challenge the executive, the Senate or the legislature on its power, you cannot fault it as an institution.
Why not? Are they infallible?
No, I'm not saying they're infallible. Again, you have now to distinguish that body as an institution from the persons occupying it. Because I watch the public all the time, and you know, the Senate is under some, I don't know, disdain by the public, fine, maybe because of the senators and so on and so forth. But I try to restrain myself from that and look at the institution. We need this institution, no matter who is in there.
Now let's look at this other part too, because you say, I mean, we talked about it, they presented him twice.
Yes.
To the Senate. And they've said again, look, we have that right to represent him to the Senate. Is that right or wrong?
Well, if they want to represent him, they should make that move and see what the Senate does. You cannot keep on going. He was rejected twice. What do you think we made the Senate now to confirm him? You just have the same thing going on and going on. I mean, forever. Now, when we discussed this before, I said that the Senate had a reason to not confirm Magu, for whatever reason. It could be for the color of his tie, for the way he dresses, but concretely because they pointed to a document from the executive.
Will that be right? Isn't it supposed to be defined, the terms under which he can be rejected if it impugns, maybe say if he's found not to have been qualified based on his character or integrity, or is it just because of the color of his tie? That's going to be broad-based, isn't it?
Well, I'm just saying that is how broad the power can be.
Is it that broad?
If
you don't like the man's hair, without focusing on his competence, you disqualify him?
The Senate does not have to give you reasons for not approving anyone. They don't have to do it. You present to the Senate, present all the qualifications, let the Senate debate. You know, they have to debate this thing. Now, but in this regard, I don't know, just an example of how broad that power can be. They are lawmakers. You cannot confound lawmakers into how and why and what. That is why you have 103 of them, not one person, so that they can now debate. They can look at issues. But in this instance of Magu, I don't even think it's the fault of Magu.
Okay, if we have to. We cannot wish this problem away. We have to go by the Constitution. If it takes the Senate to agree with the executive, will that also mean, for instance, say, take Magu out of this equation and we'll be okay? Do you see it as that?
I see it as that, and this is why. Because when Magu was presented, first, second time, the executive itself presented a paper, some sort of a document, okay, on this particular nominee, which was produced as by the DSS, talking about his character and so on and so forth. I don't think it would be right for us to ask the Senate to disregard that particular document. I said before, I would have expected Magu to now defend that in front of them and try to make an argument against it. But you can't close your eyes to that. So that is where the conflict started. When the Senate said, well, based on what we see here and what we decide this person is not fit and proper for this position, executive disagrees. Fine. Okay. If that is the case, what the executive should do to resolve it is, one, either argue against what the Senate is saying or present another candidate. Are we saying Magu is the only person that can do this job? So if the executive digs its heels, the Senate can do the same thing. And I warned about that here. I said, the way we are going, we are not going to resolve this conflict because the Senate will react to assert its power and its responsibility when the time comes, through the budget process, through the confirmation of another nominee, and that is where we are.
2 times. This presentation and then representation of Magu to the Senate was done, but that was done under the president, Muhammad Buhari, who is unfortunately ill. If we have that scenario again, being presented by Oshibajo this time, and he represents Magu to the Senate, what do you think will be the response of the Senate?
Well, I don't think that will happen because, one, acting president is acting on behalf of the president. He's occupying that position while the president is away.
So there are no sentimental attachments
whatever
to it.
he does is like the president doing it, because he's the acting president. So, and you see, we should not keep on pushing this issue because we are thinking, what is the real reason behind all this? Trying to just confirm Magu. Let us look at that reason. We are saying this person is the only person. If the executive disagree with the law, it can propose changes to it or can present another. We need to move on from this.
Yeah, but I mean, they'll always tell you they have to predicate it on law. Some will insist that the powers of the Senate to confirm or reject the acting or the nominee of the presidency about the AFCC cannot be at large. But there are those who will also say, if they, assuming they found, maybe they rely on a particular provision and say, no, we will not confirm it based on a criminal proceeding, will they not have taken upon themselves the role of the court to determine a man guilty of something?
No, they haven't determined him guilty. They have not accused him of any crime. They have just looked at him and said, according to what we see, which was debated, can they unilaterally rely on that, especially if it's not a verdict or a ruling from a court? No, I mean, they don't need a court. They have the law to guide them in this. Again, if the AFCC Act says somebody has to be confirmed, we have to go by that. That is my own, that is my standard. If we go beyond that and say, this agency, this chairman is not supposed to be confirmed, then we are saying we are invalidating that law, that EFCC Act. And we cannot willy-nilly just invalidate the law. That is not the job of the executive.
So the law actually stops at, okay, we reject Magu as EFCC chairman.
That's it.
Without reasons. Don't give reasons, we just reject him.
The legislature can do that.
So we can amend that law and just say that, okay, it goes with a caveat though, that you should give reasons for any rejection though.
We can do that. The executive can propose, that's what the executive does, it can propose changes. If the executive that executes the law sees that the law is wrong and is not working this way, it can always do that. But in doing that, you have to work with the legislature. You have to now come to an agreement and say, let's do this. But if the legislature looks at that law and it doesn't agree with it, well, it doesn't agree with it. Okay, we go to another level. That is why they call it separation of powers.
All right, Samuel Sobo, a legal practitioner. We appreciate your coming on this morning.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, indeed. And we'll be back and look at this matter again from another perspective, as we always do. Join us again.